I'm at DCD at CeBIT, and I'm privileged to have Robert Tozer, an authority on data centres, many aspects of data centres. But this time, at this event, Robert, you've been talking about the environmental case for sustainability. So I think the first question is to ask, why should we be worried about sustainability and the environmental impact of data centres?
Okay, so the talk I gave yesterday was about the business case for sustainability in data centers, trying to show actually that even if though you don't believe in the environment, or even if you don't believe that we've only got 30 years to solve the CO2 emissions before it's too late, to have some serious problems, economic but also environmental in this century, then there are certain things that we have to do. And even if we don't believe it, there's loads of people who do believe in it, and so from a branding perspective, this will be quite an issue.
Yes, I mean, there is a huge scientific consensus that environmental damage is happening that could become irreversible if we don't do something now.
Exactly. So business as usual, civilization will collapse by the end of the century. That's absolutely, there's like 97% of scientists are agreeing to that. So things will happen, and I think that there is time, but we have to react to it. So I think the presentation I gave yesterday was about how we can make, not only do something about that, but also there's a business case for it.
So, I mean, let's talk first, I suppose, I mean, the kind of things that you might do in a data, what is the environmental aspect of a data centre? That's one place to start.
Okay, so you've got to look at the whole thing very holistically. So, you know, on one hand, you're emitting CO2 because you're using energy. On the other hand, you're using loads of equipment. You're building switchboards and UPSs and cooling equipment. All that requires energy. So there's the environmental impact from just the embodied impact that this has on the environment. And when we talk about the environment, it's not just global warming, it's the resource depletion, it's the poison effect on human health, and also the ecology quality that we're trying to look after for environment. So sustainability is actually about making sure people can live on this world in years to come, not just, it's not just about CO2, although that's a very important thing. So the data center contributes to all those things, and the main three ways it contributes is by consuming energy. So that's to do with our energy used by the IT equipment, but also by all the M&E. So it's IT, the one-off PUE, and the PUE, which is the M&E part of it, which comes into it. It's to do with the energy mix. You know, how much of that energy is renewable, how much of that is how much to generate the energy is actually going out up to the atmosphere, creating CO2 and other nasty things we shouldn't have there. And the other aspect is the embodied impact of IT equipment and of all the M&E, all the facilities we've got there.
I think the crux of what you're saying, we know that there's environmental damage happening, and we know that data centres are contributing to that, and so perhaps they should change. All too often the response to that is, why should we? How should we? It costs too much. But you're saying there actually is a business case for this.
Absolutely right. I mean, this is in line. Yes, absolutely. If you look at actually those three things I mentioned, you know, the equipment, reducing the impact of equipment, actually will use less, which means use your equipment over more time. So let's take a very easy example. IT equipment, well, if you utilize it more, then you need less equipment. If you use it over more time, you actually have less of an impact. So there's that aspect. So there's an economic capex benefit of actually using less equipment. If you go for zero refrigeration, which you can do in many parts of the world, then you are saving loads of money on generators, the electric systems, plus all the cooling system. So there's a lot of gain from that. So that's a gain on capex, on capital expenditure. You bring down your energy consumption. Well, there's an OPEX saving there. And if you go for cleaner energy, you're probably going to have that will have a big impact on your brand. Branding has is a source of revenue for companies, but it can also be Achilles heel. Last thing you want is campaigners saying, you are not green, you're doing all the dirty stuff.
5 years ago, Facebook had some very serious brand damage for being seen as being not so environmentally friendly, and that seems to have forced it to make big changes.
Yes, if you check on the, is it Clicking Green? The report by, yes, that's right. They've put all the data centers, well, not all, but a lot of them, and I think, Facebook now is on the green side of them. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very important message, and I know we're going to hear more about that in future. Many thanks for talking to me.
Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to it.